8th, and this is the meeting of the West Palm Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, and the time is 4 p.m. We will start with comments from the public for non-agenda items. Madam Clerk, do you have any cards?
No cards, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Comments from the board, beginning with Commissioner Nearing.
No comment.
Commissioner Peduzzi.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no comment.
Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. No comments today.
And Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. I have no comments.
Very good. All right. Mr. Rugg, are there any additions, deletions, reorganization of the agenda?
Mayor, if I could, just to keep it consistent with the way that we presented it in a couple of weeks ago at the work session, I would like to present the Northwood Pleasant City CRA budget item first, then followed by the City Center DDA budget, and then Raphael will present the DDA budget as part of the Downtown City Center CRA district budget.
Okay, that's fine. So you're going to move 6 to 4?
Correct. 6
4
and
to
7.
5?
Yes.
And then 5 to 6. Okay, I'll just let you call the shots once we introduce you. Item 2, resolution number 20-45, appointing Errol Darville and waiving the conflict and authorizing the appointment of William Meredith Holland Jr. to the Community Redevelopment Area Advisory Board. Mr. Rugg, you want to?
Absolutely, Mayor. So these are 2 applications that we received for openings for the CRA Advisory Board for the Northwood Pleasant City CRA Advisory Board. And Mr. Holland and Mr. Darville have both applied and were welcomed with open arms by the CRA Advisory Board, and we welcome their additions to the CRA Advisory Board if this board will appoint them. And Mr. Holland will fill one of the members with the legal background, and Mr. Darville will be one of the residents that represents the Pleasant City Northwood redevelopment area. We still have 2 remaining vacancies that we're currently working on, but these 2 additions will give us fill 2 of the 4 vacancies that are currently available on the CRA Advisory Board.
Very good. Madam President, you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to state for the record, as liaison to CRA Advisory Board, the Advisory Board has been working with these candidates for a while and are very excited to have them on board. Mr. Holland specifically has been really active with the CRA prior to his time as one of the founding members of the revamped Pleasant City Family Reunion that has been going on and is highly involved. So I feel a little bit like we're getting a 2-for-1 on the legal front, as well as a great representative from Pleasant City. And Mr. Darville is a very welcome member to represent Pleasant City and a lot of really great things happening there in the CRA. So just wanted to report those back from CRA Advisory Board and hopefully potentially welcome these new members.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. You're muted, Madam President. You're muted.
I tried to mute myself and I must have muted myself. I apologize. I move to approve resolution number 20-45.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you call roll, please?
Mayor James,
Aye.
Commissioner Schoaf,
Yay.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yay.
Commissioner Peduzzi,
Yay.
Commissioner Nearing,
Yay.
Commissioner Fox.
Yay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Holland. Thank you so much for all of your service. You've been a warrior in these battlefields for a long time, and we appreciate all that you have done and look forward to having you join hands with us as we move forward.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Mr. Moderator, I apologize again because I charged right into the meeting without checking on the availability of Channel 18. Hopefully they are on board. And in the future, feel free to slap my hand if I don't, if I'm moving too fast.
No
All
problem.
right.
Mayor. We're fine. Just remember, we need a 5-minute rollover between this and the commission meeting.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Okay. So item 3, which will now be, no, item 3, minutes. This is consent. So are there any questions on the consent calendar? Just one item, item 3. Hearing and seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve consent.
Your second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none. Madam Clerk, can you call roll, please?
Mayor James,
Aye.
Commissioner Shelf,
Yay.
Commissioner Paduzzi,
Yay.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yay.
Commissioner Fox,
Yay.
Commissioner Neary.
Yay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. All right. So, Mr. Rook, we're moving item 7 to number 3, correct?
Correct. Items 6 and 7 to 4 and 5.
I mean, right, all right. So you want to go with 6 now or 7?
Well, they're sort of one and the same.
All right. Well, let's go with 6 now.
Okay.
And we'll move to 7 later. Resolution number 20-49, adopting amendment number 16 to the Northwood Pleasant City CRA Strategic Finance Plan. Mr. Rugg.
So Mayor and Commissioner CRA board members, this is the strategic finance plan that we update annually that extrapolates our current fiscal year into future budget years, understanding that our projects are ongoing and they are built out over the life of several years. And this plan is updated annually to reflect those projects. So this is the updated plan based on the financial position of this current coming fiscal year.
That's it?
That's it. And Mayor, I was going to. Yeah,
Okay,
so
no,
the final estimates and revenue of expenditures, item 7 is when I'll present the
Okay, all right.
budget. Yes.
All right, very good. So I will entertain a motion for item, what is now 4, but what was 6?
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 20-49.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Madam Clerk, can you call roll,
Mayor
please?
James? Mayor James,
Aye.
Commissioner Paduzzi,
Yay.
Commissioner Shelf,
Yay.
Commissioner Neary.
Yay.
Commissioner Fox,
Yay.
Commissioner Lambert.
Yay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, very good. So we will now go to item 5, which was formerly item 7. Resolution number 20-50F, adopting the final estimates of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year commencing on October 1st, 2020 and ending on September 30th, 2021 for the Northwood/Pleasant City District of the West Palm Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. Mr. Rook.
Thank you, Mayor. CRA board members, and commissioners, can you all see my screen? Great. So this is this year's coming financial budget for the CRA for the Northwood Pleasant City CRA area. We're just going to get into a quick overview that I also shared during the work session and get into some of the details. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on each and every item, but just kind of pull out some of the highlights of the projects that we are working on. So as I discussed during the work session, the CRA does get its funding from two funding sources, and these include the tax increment generated from the Palm Beach County taxes collected in the CRA areas and the city of West Palm Beach. And this breaks out the two funding sources for each area, the downtown city center area on the left and the Northwood Pleasant City area on the right. And you can see that each one, we get a substantial amount of funding from those Palm Beach County taxes that are collected. And were the CRA to go away, that revenue from the Palm Beach County taxes that are collected would go away as well. So that would be approximately $13.4 million annually for the downtown city center area, and currently 1.5 million of Palm Beach County taxes that would we would lose for the Northwood Pleasant City area. In addition to those funding sources, the CRA is bound by state legislature or state law to spend money in specific ways, namely starting with the boundary. It has to spend the money in those areas that are designated CRA boundaries, in accordance with the enabling legislation, which is very specific. And then lastly, the work plan that is set and approved by the CRA board, which allows us to do the projects that is approved by you all. And that's just a brief overview, because as we go in through these sort of uncharted territories with the pandemic, it's good to just sort of do a refresh on where we get the funding and how it does work for these the Community Redevelopment Agency. Okay, so getting back into the Northwood Pleasant City area, this is a map of our boundaries, where we can spend those dollars that I had just talked about. We broke it into 5 different areas: the industrial area, the Northwood Village, Pleasant City, the Curry Corridor, which is along the intercoastal, and then the long spine that runs up the north end of our city, the Broadway corridor that goes from Northwood Village all the way to 59th Street, bordering Riviera Beach. Our budget sources and uses, we've seen about a 4% increase over last year in that tax increment, that those tax dollars that we get from the county and from the city of West Palm Beach. And we did have some carry forward balance. Those are dollars that are set aside for existing projects and commitments that the CRA has made in the past. On the uses side, you can, a couple of line items, the debt service are some of the future or the past bonds that we've pulled. In the innovative policing side, that $265,000, that is money that we are paying the West Palm Beach Police Department to pursue innovative tactics to keep the neighborhood safe. And lastly, the $6 million are those big projects that we're currently working on in the area, things like the anchor site, Curry Park, and such. We've set aside about $400,000 for future projects, and that can be used for several needs, debt service, other things that come up where we want to pursue that perhaps will achieve the goals set by the CRA board. In total, it's about $9.5 million that is currently used this year. This is just a quick overview on some of those past bond projects that we are currently paying debt service on. You can see, they range in things from land acquisition to improvements. The anchor site, you will see here pretty soon. We feel pretty confident that that agreement is coming in for a landing, so that's exciting, as well as Curry Park and some of our efforts there. So getting into our targeted areas of the North End CRA, the first one is the Pleasant City targeted area, and we've set aside some substantial dollars for the property acquisition, and that's to achieve some targeted areas in that for housing and commercial activities that we want to continue to kickstart and see the progress of Pleasant City, the Pleasant City area. on the Curry corridor, which even though this does primarily show the Curry Park idea of what it could be, this is just, this came out of one of the proposals of Chen Moore, the current architect that we're in negotiations for. This was what they had proposed as an idea during their bid. This has not been vetted through the community, and that will be a robust part of what we do. But this is just kind of an idea of what could be done. But that infrastructure Curry Park, that $2.6 million will be set aside for big master planning of that park, which will include robust community involvement and engagement, and we'll probably end up leading with that. But we've set aside quite a bit of dollars for that Curry corridor, which goes from the Dixie Highway line to the Intercoastal. That represents quite more than just Curry Park, but that's probably one of the most exciting areas of the CRA. Getting into Northwood Village, on the, again, the $1 million set aside for the anchor site, that is, it's going to be primarily for that parking structure that we will be included in the construction of the anchor site, in addition to the residential and commercial uses that is anticipated to be part of that project. The private security numbers, that's in addition to the innovative policing. You can see there, that's the other large item of $550,000, and that's to maintain the level of service that PSC is currently providing in the area, and includes some of Blum Park. That private security was requested by the business community in the Northwood area, and that is to maintain the level of service that we currently are providing there. A couple of other smaller items with property acquisition, and the big one is going to be marketing initiatives. I think now more than ever, it's driving customers to those businesses so that we can support them during the tough pandemic time. In the industrial park, this will be an area that is actually getting quite exciting. There was a recent, I was speaking with the CRA advisory board chair. There's a new company that just located in there that is a roofing supply company that it's very exciting. And we'll be reaching out to them shortly, but I think it just goes to show that the area is a great place for business acquisitions, business relocations, and the property acquisition dollar number will help go a long way to, I think, continuing to make it an attractive area from the CRA and partnering with some local businesses to help them grow. On the Broadway Target area, this is that long spine that runs up and down Broadway from 59th Street all the way down to Northwood Village. There's a strong desire by a lot of the businesses and residents along the north end to address the BMUD regulations. So we've set aside some dollars to look at that, as well as, again, some property acquisition that can help us with business attraction for the area. And then lastly, these are line items that we've used for a variety of different services that can be used throughout the Northwood Pleasant City area. And we actually started talking more about the holiday aspect, not really knowing what's going to happen as it relates to events and things that we'll be able to do during the pandemic, and thinking that we may want to actually have a little more lighting, because in light of the pandemic, we may have a lot of people sort of driving around looking at Christmas lights and sort of popping in quickly to support businesses here and there. And if we can just, essentially provide attractive places for people to just enjoy the holidays, but in a socially distanced way, we'll begin to explore those things on the holiday end. Aside from that, on the landscaping, again, having some dollars set aside where we can quickly address any kind of, derelict issues and keep the place looking good is why we've set some dollars there. So that concludes the Northwood Pleasant City budget presentation. Happy to answer any questions. Mayor, you're muted.
Thank you very much for that presentation. We do have a question from Madam President.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Rook, for the presentation. We've vetted this through CRA Advisory Board, and really the only piece of feedback that I've received is on the Broadway Target Area. I know we discussed target areas being defined areas, so it is our area that is the longest, and due to the fact that it's mostly a long skinny portion as opposed to other more densely located target areas. There was some desire to make sure that the resources for that target area get spread from north to south. Is there a way via reporting or project by project that we could make sure that we're being equitable north to south? Usually a dividing line is about 45th Street. So south of 45th Street and north of 45th Street, to be able to report back in a way that says we're spreading our resources equitably.
Absolutely. We can break down the different areas. And I think this was actually discussed in past meetings. I can't recall exactly the details on it, but the idea of actually, because Broadway is so long, having perhaps different sectors of that corridor. And I think there's definitely a way we can track the funding to make sure that we spread it equitably. And if you'd like, provide a little more detail in how we can spend those dollars north and south, because I do agree, I mean, some areas may, have different needs than others. But I guess the only thing that I would add, Commissioner, is just a little bit of flexibility, because in the event that we do need to perhaps address something a little bit larger on the north end, perhaps so much on the south end, but I guess we would just simply bring those items back to you for consideration.
Sure, and thank you for that, Mr. Rugen. I acknowledge that there will be, some give and take amongst that. I'm not asking for dollar at a dividing line, but I think it helps to show, if it was more north focused this year and more south focused next year, just to try to be able to provide that information is important.
Understood.
Very good. Any other questions or comments on this item? Hearing and seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 20-50F.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Moved and second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, just a question before you call roll. She said
Call
20.
roll, please.
Just for clarification, is she approving item number 5, resolution 20-48F? I think she said 20-50. So which item?
I did. It's item, formerly item 7.
Right. What used to be 7 has now been moved to 5.
Oh, okay. So it's 20-50F. Okay. And she said 5. I'm sorry. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for the clarification.
Want to call roll?
Okay. Mayor James,
Aye.
Commissioner Shove,
Yay.
Commissioner Nearing,
Yay.
Commissioner Fox,
Yay.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yay.
Commissioner Peduzzi.
Yay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very good. Thank you. Now we'll move to what used to be item 4, which will now be item 5. Right?
Yes.
What number?
Yes, that is correct, Mayor.
All right, very good. Resolution number 20-47, adopting amendment number 15 to the downtown/city center CRA strategic finance plan. Mr. Rube?
Yes, so Mayor, Commissioners, this is, again, the financial plan extrapolating our budget out over the 5 years that lays out those projects and our projections for the budget and how our projects are going to be funded over that time frame. And again, this is a projection. The annual budgets come back to you on an annual basis, but this simply takes our financial position now and says, okay, this is what we expect over the next 5 years. The budget presentation for the city center that includes the DDA's presentation, I'll present under item 7, which is the next agenda item, going over into the adopting the final estimates of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year.
Very good. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 20-47.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Madam Clerk, can you call roll, please?
Mayor James,
Aye.
Commissioner Shelf,
Yay.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yay.
Commissioner Fox,
Yay.
Commissioner Paduzzi,
Yay.
Commissioner Neering.
Yay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very good. Thank you. Next item, a resolution number 20-48F, adopting the final estimates of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year commencing on October 1st, 2020 and ending on September 30th, 2021 for the downtown/city center district of the West Palm Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. Mr. Rue?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. So this is the budget presentation for the downtown city center CRA district. Similar to, oh, come on. There we go. Similar to the presentation you just saw, we'll get into a quick summary of revenues and expenditures, dive into some of the projects, not all of them. And then lastly, because the CRA, the downtown city center CRA, contributes to the DDA's budget annually, Raphael is on hand to talk about what their financial budget looks like for this year, so that you have an understanding of how how we all plan to spend our dollars this coming fiscal year. And everybody can see my screen, correct? I probably should have started. Okay, great. Thank you. So these, our district for the CRA downtown district includes quite a bit of area from Palm Beach Lakes down to Okeechobee Boulevard, broken into 5 different quadrants, with the majority of funding and efforts being used for the historic Northwest area. But as we go throughout the year, I think that some additional requests may be received from the Brailsford Park area as some redevelopment efforts occur there, as well as wrapping up some existing projects, primarily on the infrastructure front with our bonds, conclude in the downtown core and Clear Lake district, that namely that Banyan Boulevard project. So sources of funding, again, going back to the that quick slide about the county and the city dollars combined, we look at almost $40 million annually that we get from those 2 funding sources. And we saw a 2.4% increase in that budget this year, which is good news for the area. The carry forward balance does look a little bit large, but again, that has to deal with a lot of projects. The CRA in this area is very, very busy, as you all are aware of, with many of the projects that are going on in the historic Northwest. On the uses side, the largest line item is that debt service, primarily due to all of the infrastructure projects that are currently underway and the bonding that we've recently gathered from a couple of years ago. And in addition to that, that innovative policing number 2.9 million does go to the West Palm Beach Police Department for innovative policing tactics, that a lot of which is used for the entertainment district, or the entertainment, the downtown entertainment area that our police patrol and use. And then you can see there the 4.7 million that Raphael will address here in a bit, that goes to the DDA's work plan. Lastly, that I do want to draw a little bit of notes to that waterfront events and operation 1.9 million. That goes to a lot of things to activate our waterfront and keep our downtown active and drawing people down to support our local businesses. From the work session, we did make a minor change to the reserve for future projects. During the work session, that number was $4 million. However, since the work session in last week, the CRA's does own several properties that are in the historic Northwest. And we've been working with our insurance company on those projects. And between insurance requirements and some of the goals of the CRA to make those buildings either homeowner occupied or get businesses in them, we've peeled off about $1.3 million to apply to those buildings to make them usable, and that achieves both the goals of actually getting them used by end users at the end of the day, but also helps us keep our insurance current on those properties as well. So that was a minor adjustment to that line item. The 2.7 for future projects has gone down from 4 million. I just want to take a quick pause there just to make sure there isn't any questions.
Mr. Root, was that a one-time, that's not a recurring expense we will have, right?
That is correct, Mayor, because the reserve for future projects, that number fluctuates. That is not reoccurring revenue at all. So we were just, again, because it came up between today and when we did the work session, and it was actually a discussion last week. That's why we reduced that number, and it will actually go to a real project that'll help achieve CRA goals.
All right, very good. We do have a question from Commissioner Nearing.
Thank you. Mr. Rue, could you remind me again, under innovative policing, not the strategy per se, but how that's different than business as usual, I'm assuming by virtue of the title itself, innovative policing. Can you just remind me again, because that's throughout our CRA budgets. Talk a little bit about what that
Sure. So innovative policing is one of those uses that's identified by the state that we can spend CRA dollars on. And that gets into lots of things relative to the way that the police department serves and protects the CRA area. We'll have ongoing discussions with the police department as those tactics evolve and change annually. In the past, they have served to support the entertainment area of downtown, the Clematis Street and places like that. And in addition to using new technology and tactics to help basically be more effective and make sure that our downtown and the city center continues to be safe. If you would like a little bit more detail, perhaps we can schedule a future discussion about it, but I would have to get the chief to give you a little bit more detail on those tactics. And I think Raphael actually knows a little bit more as well.
Mr. Clemente, do you want to weigh in on that, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. And I'm assuming that my intrusion is welcome, but
Absolutely.
Prior to the existence of the Entertainment District Police Unit, our downtown was split between two zones, the north and the south. The north being basically Banyan Boulevard all the way to the northern border of the city, and the south being everything from Banyan down to the C-51 Canal, where our city, southern edge of our city. So as our downtown was being rebuilt and coming back to life again, anytime there was a call for service within this area, it had to come from two very large zones. And we all know that police have to, and thank goodness, prioritize life safety and property safety over nuisance items like panhandling, like drunken disorderly behavior, like other quality of life issues that affect an urban district. And to form the Entertainment District Police Unit, the CRA stepped forward to help create that unit. And I can tell you, having been here through that process, the Entertainment District Unit was absolutely critical in the revitalization of downtown West Palm Beach and continues to be so today. Innovation has evolved over time, and that was at the time when the EDU was formed, having a police unit dedicated to an entertainment district whose job was to make sure everyone behaved themselves and went home safely, abided by the law, et cetera. The value in that, we see it, we've seen it and we see it again today with how the unit responds to the needs of what is not only our largest neighborhood, but our business district and our living room, if you will. So this is a really critical element to keeping downtown safe and keeping it vibrant.
Commissioner, you have any follow-up to that, your question?
No, I think, thank you. No, I think if Mr. Rook, thank you for that, Mr. Clemente. Mr. Rook, as that's more defined, I think it's important because to your point, Raphael, the genesis of that looks a lot different than 2020. And as a commissioner, when we're questioned around specifically innovative policing, not just in the downtown, but in the budget on the north end of our CRA, I think it's important. I need to better understand it so that I can talk about it, because we do get those questions. I definitely get those questions. So that was really the gist of it. And then I wondered if, as a part of that, there was thinking around, for example, funding for support with our police officers with, with mental health, and different things, that type of innovation. So I just wondered if that's where we were going with it. Sounds like to be decided based on strategy and Chief Adderley. So maybe, at a later date, Mr. Wu, any information on that. Again, not the strategy around it, but just the overarching theme around it would be helpful. Appreciate it.
Very good. Any other questions? All right, proceed, Mr. Rook.
So since the lion's share of activity is in the historic Northwest, this map gives you an idea of all the different work. The only item that isn't on here that I think is noteworthy is this area right here where the Salvation Army is currently located. That has been the area that has been identified to serve as the location for the West Palm Beach Center for Arts and Technology. That's NCAT here. And we are updating this map. So that's the only addition to it. In addition to that, some of the other, I think, noteworthy projects, the Grand, very large workforce housing, very exciting project, and is going to get substantial assistance from the CRA in order to make that project a reality. And they are moving forward with interior designs and renderings. So that's very exciting. Tamaran Avenue Streetscape, you will see, it's actually on the board behind me, a note that to bring that item to you here shortly. And that is another large ticket item, mostly from bond funding, but equally nice because it will address a lot of ADA issues on the street. Unfortunately, that project is just, it's a bit, we need to be a bit careful with it because it is close to our utilities, public utilities facility. So it requires a little bit of TLC in order to make sure that we don't disrupt any kind of water service. So, but either way, that's another project that you'll see here shortly. We'd be remiss if we didn't have a slide specifically for the Sunset Lounge. Again, this is a new project that we expect to be finished up next year, during next fiscal year. And we have set aside some dollars, substantial dollars for, again, not knowing how the pandemic is going to shake out. And we will have to make sure that this opens up with great fanfare. And the Sunset Lounge operations, we have set aside about $1 million to make sure that that facility is operated and opened in the way that it has been envisioned. And lastly, on the business development side of the target area, I mean, we are going to definitely look at our local businesses, business retention and expansion opportunities, and provide some business incentives that are available for those that are there, and also hopefully attract additional ones as they're identified. And then just again, a little bit more detail on the historic Northwest. The AIA, you'll see an image here in a moment of the Stixx Promenade project, which is an economic development project for small businesses. It did win an American Institute of Architects award for that project. as well as the NCAP building, that $5 million that's set aside. In order to sort of unlock that $5 million for the West Palm Beach Center for Arts and Technology down at the bottom, some type of agreement will have to come back to the CRA board for discussion and will be considered at a later date. But the money has been set aside for that effort. And then there you can see the grand incentive, the $9 million to get that project underway, which is equally exciting. There's a look at the Promenade, the Stixx Promenade, where those businesses are going to locate. There's actually, they finished up the street area around where this is going to be located, and is you get a chance to check it out. It's quite impressive. Under infrastructure and streetscapes, that's $16.5 million for the Tamaran Avenue. That'll be combined with some public utility dollars to see that project become a reality. Again, very large, because it does run from Banyan Boulevard all the way up to Palm Beach Lakes. But total uses for that area is going to be $42 million for the Northwest Target Area. Moving south into, south and east, the Clear Lake Target Area is that those office buildings that run along the lake. And we're working on the Seaboard train station, which includes Mazanoff's property in that recent agreement that was approved by the CRA board, where we're improving the Seaboard train station, doing some repairs there, as well as the master planning of moving the Palm Tran facility as a temporary and potentially permanent location. And then over on the Brailsford Park, Providencia Park Target Area, again, just some business incentives situated there, but I do anticipate some dollars perhaps shifting to this area in the future for you all to consider, as more economic development activities occur over there in the private sector, because there has been some land acquisition and some interest to see some improvements occur. Into the downtown core, one of the large projects, 314 Clematis, that's another major item that the CRA did purchase a couple of years ago to use for the 12 for 12 projects to incubate more small businesses there. And there's a healthy construction budget to get that in a usable form. And I'll be working with the DDA to bring back a roadmap here in the near future about how we will get that building online and back in the hands of the private sector. And then lastly, on the alleyways, some alleyway initiatives did come out of the bond. You can see recently here the 300 block between Datura and Clematis Street that was completed. It does look great, and it is quite enjoyable. And we're hoping will be used by businesses that back up against that alleyway for more than just utility use. It actually is more for customer and dining purposes. And now I'll touch on the DDA target area, and then I believe Raphael will take the reins from here. But you can see the 4.7 that is allocated to the DDA for the work plan. They are doing the lion's share of work in the downtown area, while we focus a lot of our efforts in the historic Northwest, Pleasant City, and Northwood area. The DDA is a great partner, and very excited to see what they do this year. Raphael, do you want to touch on real quickly, and then, or do you want me to wrap up?
Whatever your preference, Chris, and I'll whenever you're ready, I'll share my screen.
Okay, let me just, Commissioner or CRA board, I'll just go ahead and wrap up here, and then I'll turn it back. Mayor, is that are you okay, comfortable with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Other target areas, this really goes to the larger area of the city center, the trolley expansions. Banyan Streetscape is currently underway. You can see the construction being done there. And then all in all, in the downtown area, got a $6 million budget for this coming fiscal year. And with that, I'll turn it over to Raphael to talk about the DDA target area budget. Raphael.
Thank you, Chris, and good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you all. I wish it was in person. Okay, is everything visible here? And from my initial run through that I previewed for this body at the work session, effectively there's been no changes. And just a reminder, you know, we approach this budget very much like the city and the CRA has approached this coming year, with an eye toward flexibility and the ability to adapt. And of course, thinking about how we are the most effective partner in not only helping our community and our business, our downtown district stakeholder group bounce back, but in how we help the city adapt to the changing needs of the community and changing budget conditions. We do have a new work plan, and as I always like to remind anyone, including CRA board, via our interlocal, our work plan is effectively the scope. It's the work that we've agreed to do in return for the funding agreement that we enjoy with the CRA and the city. And just to put it in a graphic format, you know, this is a cooperative, collaborative relationship, and not just in terms of funding, but in terms of how we work and the dialogue and the information shared. Definitely is a team effort. So going straight into revenues, and very much like the CRA, we saw a small increase in our ad valorem tax revenue, that first line at the very top. And I'm showing you year by year, side by side, current fiscal year in blue, coming fiscal year in yellow, and then the percent change, which for an organization as small as we are, I think this is an important way to look at what we're doing and what we're doing year over year. The interlocal second mill, that's the match in revenues. Project funding is money for work outside of the 2 mil agreement within the scope of our work plan or within our interlocal. We've committed a couple of years ago now to bring that down to 0, and we keep going in that direction. Especially as much as we possibly can now with budgets being hit as a result of shrinking revenues for everybody. That DDA city interlocal line item, that's for work that we have taken over to sort of take on some more of the burden. And through changing conditions and changing needs, that the amount of money for that work has gone down. Not to say that the work isn't being done, we're just figuring out ways to do it for less money. DDA CRA interlocal, I'll just call that, right now it shows no money there. I'll call that item to be determined. As Chris indicated in his presentation, we're looking at obviously and very happily bringing back 314, the thoroughfare project. And if there is money that would be allocated for us to bring to bear on that project, it would probably come in that revenue line. Interest, small amount for some money that we've got at Seacoast National Bank. And then carry forwards down from last year, but still a little larger than normal. Like everyone else, there were several things we couldn't do this year. We weren't hosting events. We were not running the trolley. We were not doing other things. And that money, we've parked it and we were bringing it into line items where we really need it. So, and being that I went through this, I'm not going to gloss over important points. If there are questions, please bring them up to me. But I'm going to run through this just for the sake of time. Property and business incentives this year, the 2020 amount here, that was significantly increased over our initial budget because we funneled money into that line item to help businesses during COVID. Like the city did, we participated in the loan program. We reactivated our Tier 1 grant, which is helping offset rental costs. We're collaborating with Project 1909 to provide expertise. So we put money specifically into line items in our business development category this year, current fiscal year, to help soften the blow as much as we could. Coming into 2021, we're bringing numbers back to somewhat what they would typically be. Areas where we see an increase in broker outreach, even though it looks like a big increase, it's only a $10,000 addition, because we know inevitably we are going to have to help fill vacant spaces. And one of the most effective ways we can do that is rather than put incentive money on the table or more incentive money on the table, it's can we work more closely with our commercial brokerage? They're the experts. They're the ones who are really going to make those deals happen. Can we give them resources? Can we host meetings, et cetera? Business training and support, slightly down, but because we beefed it up this year. Grand openings, business partnerships. This is an area where we have a decent amount of carry forward money. And we're anticipating that we're going to be able to work more closely again to help revitalize things and help get the energy back on the street. That business partnerships line item is where a business or group of businesses would decide to sponsor an event, host an event, and we would look to help sponsor that type of activity because it is a business development effort. Public space, public realm. The top two line items there, which are the two biggies, we just recently wrapped up RFPs for both of those, cleaning and pressure washing and landscape maintenance. So we have very accurate numbers and contracts in place for those. Thankfully, we brought those costs down a little bit. But again, just a reminder, that doesn't mean any less work is going to be done. We just have, we've gotten to very good agreements with two local contractors. Otherwise, graffiti removal, slightly down, but just because we don't have the money as much as we've had. Signage, the vast majority of the money in that line item, the $217,000 in our current fiscal year, was specifically for our wayfinding project. That project is wrapped up. The $50,000 that is in that line item for this year is carry forward money, and we will most likely be using that to update our trolley signage whenever those routes change, which we are all anticipating. Otherwise, not a lot of change, holiday lights, et cetera. Things we want to do for the district just to brighten it up and keep it looking good. Marketing and public relations, one area where we have increased budget. A lot of this, again, a reminder, this is carry forward dollars because we were not able to do what we wanted to do this year. Everything was on pause. Advertising, we are, as soon as we can, welcome people back to downtown. We are planning to go full scale in bringing people back to our district, letting everyone know we're open, we're safe. Please come down, visit our businesses, spend lots of money, and enjoy yourself. And also promoting the fact promoting that we are a destination for investment. And of course, we've worked closely with Mr. Rug and the team at the city to do economic development. And again, having an eye toward the fact that we may need to help fill commercial real estate, we are keeping that in mind. Value-added events, just a few areas here. Retail promotions is exactly what it is. Equipment and website, we are launching a new website and a new brand, which you'll all see. I want to tease that a little bit, a rebranding of the district, of the downtown district. And that'll be coming forward as soon as the time is right. Community and cultural, this is almost all carry forward. We have not really been able to do what we wanted to do with the arts and with events as we typically have. We're working on a few ideas and opportunities, but we're holding that line item in the hope that we can really activate our district again using art. Neighborhood services, and this is all dedicated, not to say that the other things that we do don't benefit our neighborhood, but these are areas that are specifically thinking toward residential quality of life, looking toward residential quality of life. Key areas here, transportation, that's trolley, and potentially even other operators like the Circuit, our low-speed electric vehicle that circulates in downtown. If we can't activate the trolley due to COVID concerns, maybe there's a way to partner with Circuit, which has a much smaller capacity and might be able to be safely used for public transportation. Security and policing, again, this is our security program with PSC, our security ambassadors, but also money that, at least in this current fiscal year, we use to help support an increase in policing in the downtown area, particularly with the inclusion of an additional position for our downtown lieutenant. Lieutenant DeStefano's position was added to the EDU. Public space programs, these are, it could be placemaking, it could be activation, and also looking at not just the Clematis district, but outside the core where we do have a residential population, but not as much activity as we'd like to see. So we're looking to help seed that type of activity. And then homeless outreach, exactly what it is, and in partnership with the city's program with Mr. Laws, helping fund that outreach, in fact. Operations, each area, all told, we've tried to bring down every possible operating costs that we can. General office is down, professional services down by 36% over last year, over current year. And then operations overall, every line item we have here, a tiny increase, primarily due to our rent going up this year, but overall 7%. And looking at how those expenditures are in terms of percentage of our overall budget. And really, if I was good with this, I'd have these two items next to each other, neighborhood services and public realm. But roughly 36% of our budget are tangible, measurable outcomes in our built environment. And then, of course, business development and PR being the other outcomes. Everything else would fall under the area of operations, which is about 25% of our total budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Clemente, for that very fine presentation. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, I do believe we have to adopt a resolution, if I'm not mistaken. So I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve resolution number 20-48F.
Second.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay, all right. Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing and seeing none, Madam Clerk, can you call roll, please?
Mayor James,
Aye.
Commissioner Schoaf,
Yay.
Commissioner Fox,
Yay.
Commissioner Peduzzi,
Yay.
Commissioner Lambert. Commissioner Lambert,
I think she may be having some internet issues, so she may have dropped off for the time being.
okay. Commissioner Neering,
Yay, thanks.
okay. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. All right, I believe that's the last item on the agenda, correct, Mr. Rugg?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay, we will adjourn this meeting and we will reconvene as the city commission. You need 5 minutes, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, at 5:03 p.m. we will reconvene. And we have to use a new link, correct? The city commission link.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.